Good morning, everyone. I say again, good morning. Today's lesson for Palm Sunday is for Sunday, March 28th. This is lesson number 54 since we've been recording lessons during this pandemic. To be real honest, I'm not sure why different teachers have mentioned the lesson number, but I've decided to do the same. So again, this is lesson number 54. Today is Thursday, 3 days before Palm Sunday, 8 days before Good Friday, and only 10 days before Easter Sunday. How time flies. I sincerely hope each of you are well and staying safe. I also want to say that more than ever, I miss seeing each of you. I really look forward to the day when we can all be together again. Speaking of that, Gigi and I had a very brief conversation several weeks ago about organizing some sort of class get-together, maybe in the church parking lot like we did last year, or even better at a local park as Nancy Dallas has suggested, or some other open-air venue where we can bring chairs and food and be together, all while still being cautious and following all recommended CDC guidelines. I assume all of you would welcome such an event, so kind of stay tuned. Maybe we can pull something together this spring. Before I get into my lesson, which by the way is titled When God Surprises Us, I want to share a brief update about Kathy, as well as our grandson Ian. I'm doing this because I understand Rebecca always likes to hear my family updates. So Rebecca, this is especially for you. First about Kathy. We saw her surgeon last week when he removed her stitches. The way he described her break, it was far worse than either of us had realized. You should see the x-rays, count the screws and the pins and the plates. It's simply unbelievable. He basically told Kathy absolutely no weight on her foot whatsoever for 10 to 12 weeks. It seems like every time we see him, that 10 to 12 weeks he still says the same thing. And that rehab may take the rest of the year. The good news is Kathy's doing quite well. After spending about $600 in various medical devices, she scoots around the house quite nicely. She's back to being very independent, although she still needs my help to shower, which is the high point of my week. As we progress through the next few months, I'll keep you all updated, but Kathy and I are both cautiously optimistic. Second, an update regarding our grandson. Ian is now stationed in Ansbach, Germany, which is in the southern portion of Germany, smack in the middle of the Black Forest. Kathy and I, along with Darrell and Nancy Dallas, have visited southern Germany several times, including the Black Forest, and have visited many really neat old cities that were unaffected by World War II. Kathy and I have already been telling Ian that we're going to provide him a lot of travel suggestions, starting with getting a Europass. As any of you are familiar with European rail system, you can get just about anywhere in Europe on a high-speed train in a matter of an hour or so. At my request, Ian also shared photos of his new quarters, which to me resemble a college dorm room. Every time I talk to Ian, I remind him of the great adventure he is now on. So now on to my lesson. Originally, I had planned on a second installment of Tony Dungy's book Uncommon. But since we're in the season of Lent, I found myself reminiscing about some of the traditions of our church. Plus this Sunday being Palm Sunday, and next Sunday being Easter Sunday, I just felt I needed to do something different. A lesson about Lent and Palm Sunday, all leading up to Easter Sunday. Now, I know some of you, probably many of you, may attend worship in our sanctuary on Easter Sunday, and good for you. But for Kathy and me, we feel we still need to be very careful. Regarding the season of Lent we're now in, for the second year in a row, Kathy and I missed attending Ash Wednesday service, something we've never missed and always cherished. And so I debated about what to teach about. I decided to do something unusual, at least unusual for me. That is to develop today's lesson with a focus on Lent and Easter and what it means to us as United Methodists. As an aside, and regarding Tony Dungy's book Uncommon, which I've already taught on once, it would have been super easy for me to build a case that Jesus was the most uncommon person ever to walk the earth. You know, as a bridge to using Tony's book in a lesson. But instead, I wanted to focus something a bit more traditional. But admittedly, this is a stretch for me, so I hope it works out. Thinking about our class and the many friends we've known for years, I recognize that we're all longtime Christians. What I mean by that is I know you know the scriptures and stories about Easter as well as I do, and probably a whole lot better. So at the risk of boring you with stuff you already know, my lesson is sort of a refresher of some of the basics, includes a definition of what Lent is to us Christians and to Methodists. So let's start talking about what is Lent and why it lasts 40 days. Lent is a season of 40 days, not counting Sundays, which begins on Ash Wednesday and ends on Holy Saturday. Lent comes from the Anglo-Saxon word lecten, meaning lengthen, and refers to the lengthening days of spring. The 40 days represents the time Jesus spent in the wilderness enduring the temptation of Satan and preparing to begin his ministry. Lent is a time of repentance. Lent is a time of fasting. And Lent is a time of preparation for the coming of Easter. It's also a time of self-examination and reflection, and I've done my fair share of that over the last several weeks. In the early church, Lent began as a period of fasting and preparation for baptisms of new converts, and then became a time of penance for all Christians. Today, as Christians, we focus on our relationship with Christ, hopefully growing as disciples and extending ourselves. Some often choosing to give up something or to volunteer or give ourselves for others. And lastly, Sundays during Lent are not counted in the 40 days because each Sunday represents a mini Easter. This is why we see the designation Sunday in Lent rather than Sunday of Lent. As I mentioned, this is the second year Kathy and I have missed attending Ash Wednesday service. A traditional service I hope we don't have to miss again. So I thought it important to talk a bit about Ash Wednesday, what it stands for, and what it means to us as United Methodists. Every year, whether early or late, Ash Wednesday begins the season of Lent, a time when many Christians prepare for Easter. This year, Ash Wednesday was early, on February 17th. Although Ash Wednesday has ancient roots, it didn't appear in the rituals of the United Methodist Church until the 20th century, something I don't think I knew until I researched this lesson. As we all know, ashes are an ancient symbol. In Genesis 2:7, we read that God formed human beings out of dust of the earth. After expulsion from the Garden of Eden, the first human beings were told by God, "You are dust, and to dust you shall return." That was Genesis 3:19. The imposition of ashes on the heads of Christians is intended to mark the beginning of Lent and can be traced at least to the 10th century. In fact, since the 10th century, the observance of Ash Wednesday has become a general rite for a lot of Western churches. United Methodists first adopted an official ritual for Ash Wednesday that involved the use of ashes in the 1992 Book of Worship. Something else I don't think I knew until I researched material for this lesson. Prior to that time, Methodists either had no official service at all for this day, or an ashless Ash Wednesday service, which was included in the 1965 Book of Worship. The use of ashes remains optional in the current Book of Worship. The actual awareness of the corporate and personal acts of repentance are the substance of services for the first day of Lent, which is what we know of as Ash Wednesday. Through the service of ashes on the first day of Lent, we come before God recognizing our humanity, hopefully repenting for our sins and remembering who we are, and hopefully more important, who we can be. As I noted earlier, I assume most of us have missed attending Ash Wednesday service for the past year or two. Yet Jim Ragland's daily devotionals have helped remind us that we've been in the season of Lent for almost 6 weeks now. We have so much to thank Jim for, including his daily devotionals during this season of Lent. So special thanks, Jim. More important, we celebrate Easter and the risen Lord in just over a week. I want to share a short video with you made by other United Methodists around the country. This video shows what Lent means to these individuals. As you watch this video, think about what Lent means to you, especially in light of this COVID pandemic that we're stuck in and the traditions that we've missed over the past 2 seasons of Lent. So now watch and enjoy this video.
Give up any frivolous spending.
I'm adding prayer time because I don't pray enough.
I'm fasting meat for Lent.
We're so used to bread in our diet, and it's also a big weakness for me, and I wanted to sacrifice something that would be hard to do.
I am adding more devotional time, books that are focused on the journey of Jesus Christ during this time.
I'm doing a bread and water fast, and it has a symbolic reference of recognizing that Jesus is the bread of life.
In the early church, people used the time leading up to Easter as a time of preparation for those who wanted to convert to Christianity. It was this really time of intense focus so that they can learn more about the Christian faith. And then on Easter, they were baptized.
I enjoy adding something for Lent.
I just rather give up something because God gave up His only Son.
Every night or during the day, I'm writing a letter to someone in my life who challenged me or inspired me to live differently in my faith.
I guess I'd rather add something, but for me, it's more about sacrifice, and I feel like I need to give something up.
We put a cross up in our front yard. It's nothing big and fancy. It's just a big wooden cross to remind people. And I put a little thing over the mailbox that says He is risen.
Because there's no hard and fast rule about how to observe Lent, I think some people take the approach where, you need to be more somber, you need to cut out certain luxuries in your life. But I think the real question is, what space is it creating in your life to be closer to God and to do a little bit more self-reflection on your own practices and habits?
It's not extremely hard until the thing that I'm giving up is put right in front of my face.
I get pretty disappointed in myself if I fail.
As long as I do my devotional time first thing in the morning before the rest of the world tries to run in on me, I'm pretty good.
It just reminds me that even though I'm giving up something that does, mean a lot to me, that God's gonna fill that in for me.
It's just a time of heightened spirituality.
All of Easter week is important, but Easter morning is just, I wouldn't miss that service for anything.
And so this time of Easter, whether or not you were able to really commit to the things that you said that you would do, is a time to really say, thank you, God, for this life that you've given me, and to continue to ask those questions about how you can be a better Christian, how you can be a better father, daughter, parent, student, brother, sister to those around you.
This video was brought to you by the people of the United Methodist Church through World Service donations.
So now let's turn our attention to Palm Sunday. So we've been in the season of Lent since Ash Wednesday on February 17th. This coming Sunday, we celebrate Palm Sunday, just 1 week before we celebrate Easter Sunday. Within the Methodist Church, Palm Sunday marks the start of Holy Week. And of course, ends next Sunday with a celebration of Easter. Throughout this week, we mark different events that led to Jesus' resurrection and Easter. This means that Palm Sunday is sort of a paradoxical celebration. Paradoxical because we celebrate knowing full well what came next in the story. After Jesus' triumphant entry, he was rejected, betrayed, and ultimately crucified. Just about everything in regards to Jesus was surprising. His teachings were surprising, sometimes in a refreshing way, oftentimes in a shocking way. His actions were surprising, evidenced in the people he often associated with. His entry into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday was surprising because he rode in riding a young donkey. The events of Holy Week remind us that we humans often don't deal well with surprises. For the story, Jesus turns from celebration on Palm Sunday to rejection and death the following Friday. Thankfully, we know that there was more surprise to the Jesus story, the surprise of the resurrection, which we'll celebrate next Sunday, Easter Sunday. Easter is a reminder that though we may turn from God's surprises, God's love persists in an undeniable way. We just can't keep God from surprising us. I now want to show you another short video titled When God Surprises Us. This video was recorded by the Reverend Jacob Armstrong, who is a senior pastor at the Providence United Methodist Church in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Watch and enjoy this short video.
Hi, my name is Jacob Armstrong. I'm the pastor of Providence United Methodist Church, and today I want to talk to you about the miracle of Palm Sunday. It's the miracle of God surprising us. And to do that, I want to tell you about Lucas. In the hours after Lucas was born, he suffered a massive stroke that paralyzed his entire right side. It was 5 days before he was stable enough for the doctors to run the necessary tests to determine what happened. And once they knew, the prognosis was dire. Mike and Jen, his parents, remember standing in a hospital alcove as a doctor shared that Lucas would likely never walk or talk and would have significant impairments. They prayed that God would heal him. Listen to Mom Jen's description of this healing prayer. She said, "I admit that the healing I prayed for in those first horrible days is not what we have seen. I wanted that instant lightning bolt kind of change, but what we have received over these past 12 years is more like a gentle rain, steady, restorative, and sometimes messy." A couple of years later, Lucas had another setback. Seizures began to escalate and couldn't be controlled by medicines. Lucas had major brain surgery. They spent weeks in the hospital and were released just days before Easter. Lucas started to talk. He began to scoot around on the floor, and when he was almost 4 years old, he pulled himself up to stand on Christmas morning. Lucas is now known for his remarkable spirit. He has an astounding capacity to love and to empathize. He exudes joy. When he was 4 and barely walking, he got away from Jen and Mike at a friend's wedding. It took a few minutes to find him, and when they did, he was leaning against a woman they didn't know, his one good arm wrapped around her and his head resting on her. The woman had tears streaming down her face. Jen didn't know what to say, but finally the lady said through her tears, "I was just sitting here feeling completely alone in this crowded room when this child came out of nowhere and took my hand and hugged me." God surprises us. God sent that woman someone to remind her of God's love. Jen said, "I knew that to be true because God had done it for us." A miracle is when God surprises us. And if you've ever wondered what Palm Sunday is or what it's all about, it's just that, a surprise that will take your breath away. Imagine standing in a busy city on a busy street and you're so surprised by joy that you take a branch off a tree and start waving it around. That's what happened when Jesus came into Jerusalem. People saw him and were so captured by the moment they did silly stuff, waving branches, throwing their coats on the ground. And then this kind of makes the story famous. Jesus finds a young donkey, he sits on it, and he rides down the road. A miracle is when God surprises us. So allow yourself to be surprised by joy. Picture it. Grown man Jesus on a young donkey and people shouting, "There's our king." Others must have said, "That's your king?" And they said, "Yes, that's our king." People in the crowd who saw him raise Lazarus from the dead, they say, "That's our king. I don't know why he's riding on a baby donkey either, but it kind of makes me happy." You know, it's just kind of this messy, joyous, beautiful, surprising, confusing story. There is an openness required, a willingness to let joy wash over you. Joy often comes when we least expect it. Strangely, though, the Palm Sunday surprise also is leading us to the surprising suffering of Jesus. Life will also surprise us with suffering. And it's always a surprise, isn't it? Suffering, it sneaks up on us. We don't see it coming. Palm Sunday was this joyous day. The disciples thinking, yes, I didn't picture him on a baby donkey, but yes, everybody else is saying what we've known. He's the king. And then the suffering comes. I think Jesus comes in on a donkey as a way of saying, this is not going to go the way you thought. Jesus on the donkey is riding to suffering. Nobody knows it. It's surprising, but that's where he's headed. Why? To let us know we will never suffer alone. To let us know our suffering is not without meaning. Lucas's family has suffered. I love telling Lucas' story, but it's been hard. But they've not suffered alone, and their suffering is not without meaning. In 2 Corinthians, it says that our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. Why were all the people on the streets that day? Because the crowd of people who had mourned Lazarus' death had told them, you need to see this guy. Their suffering had led to this great proclamation of Jesus as king. And then, when they go out to see the king, they instead see the picture of humility. Palm Sunday surprises us with humility. Jesus on a donkey leads to Jesus washing feet, which leads to Jesus on a cross. As Jesus humbles himself to death on a cross, understand that will mean a humbling for us. A couple of years ago, Lucas didn't want to go to church anymore, and I'm Lucas's pastor. Anybody had a kid or a spouse who didn't want to go to church? Yeah, Lucas just didn't want to come. He made it difficult for everyone else to get there. And finally, in desperation, one morning before church, his parents asked him, why? Why don't you want to go to church? Lucas said, I don't want to wear a handsome shirt. A handsome shirt? He was referring to a button-up shirt, tucked in. And they said, oh, Lucas, this is about a shirt. You can wear whatever shirt you want. And he said, I want to wear my Star Wars shirt. They said, wear your Star Wars shirt. I saw Lucas that morning at church and I complimented his shirt, further cementing in his mind that his mom was crazy to make him wear handsome shirts. And then, for whatever crazy reason, in the way God works, I remembered I had my Star Wars shirt on. I unbuttoned the top button of my handsome shirt and I showed him my Star Wars shirt. And it surprised him. And it surprised his mom and dad. I had no idea what was going on earlier in the morning, but it surprised them with joy in their suffering that their pastor was wearing a Star Wars shirt. Jesus was on a donkey to get their attention, to show the people he would do whatever it took for them to connect with God. God surprised Lucas with a Star Wars t-shirt. Jesus surprises us with his entry into Jerusalem. Jesus, I think, was saying, I'm like you. I'm going to suffer like you, become humble like you, and that means the thing I bring on the other side, yeah, that's for you too. You may feel alone in a crowded room today. You may be suffering. You may have been humbled this week. God is going to send someone to surprise you. His name is Jesus.
Hey there. I hope you enjoyed this short video. I thought it was well done and fit exactly what I was trying to bring to the class today. This Sunday, Palm Sunday, is a celebration of surprise and wonder. As you already know, and I mentioned, Palm Sunday comes from a story in the Bible in which Jesus entered the city of Jerusalem. Prior to this event, Jesus and his friends had roamed the countryside, teaching and performing miracles, and in doing so had gained a lot of notoriety and recognition. The people of Jerusalem were super excited that Jesus was coming to their city to celebrate a big religious festival. In their excitement, the people grabbed palm branches to wave around and threw their cloaks before Jesus on the road. The whole scene might have looked something like an ancient ticker tape parade. As a celebration of wonder, we celebrate that God continues to surprise us and are welcoming in the miracle to come, the miracle of the resurrection. I tried to find a video that in some way resembled Palm Sundays in the past at Custer Road, where children walked down the aisle of the church waving palm branches. I even tried to find a recording on our church website for that. I just couldn't find anything. But I know each of you can and will remember services in our sanctuary where we've seen this reenactment. Who knows, maybe we'll see just that as we watch or attend Palm Sunday, this service, certainly hope by next year. So watch this next short video, hopefully which reminds us all the significance around Palm Sunday. Yet another short video. Here goes. I started out this morning telling each of you how much Kathy and I miss you. So I want to end the same way. I hope each of you are staying safe and well and have all gotten both vaccine shots by now, and if not, at least the first one. I hope that we're able to find some venue where we all can come together, maybe in some outside park or parking lot or whatever. That would be so great. I want to lift each of you up, as well as our church and the church at large on this Palm Sunday. I pray we all experience a surprise from Christ on this day and during every day of Holy Week. And again, a special thanks for all Jim Ragland has done for us, the Empty Nester class, for the past 2 years, including the daily devotionals during the season of Lent, leading us up to today, Palm Sunday, and concluding next Sunday, Easter Sunday. Lastly, since next Sunday is Easter Sunday, just a short reminder that next Sunday there will be no Sunday school class. Now, unless my information is incorrect, our next lesson will be on April 11th by Gigi. I'm sure another classic Gigi lesson. In closing, I'm going to show a few images with scriptures that are all about Palm Sunday. And then I'm going to close with a short video prayer. So God bless and take care, and I hope to see you all real soon.